So I'd love to dive back into this kind of multi-category thing, because I don't think there's many people in the world that have had such a wide variety of experience when it comes to fragrance, hair care, makeup, skincare, right? The whole thing. So for you, when you think about those categories, how do you think about marketing to those differently? Like what works in one that doesn't work in another? And then also, just because this is, this is Tribe and it's an influencer and kind of digital media company, what have you found in terms of digital activations that seem to work well across those channels?
Yeah, sure. It definitely is different across channels. That's yep. More than across categories.
And I'm asking a big question here.
You are. It's okay. I'll try to. I'll try to approach it in bite-sized chunks here. So I definitely believe that the differences that you see are more embedded in the channels than they are the categories.
Okay.
So and there's some differences in categories too. But let's first talk the channels. So if you think about luxury versus mass as an example, luxury is definitely one. It's an assisted sale. So there's someone there that can help you find what you're looking for. You can ask questions. You can try things on. So that in and of itself is a huge differentiator. Yep. When you think about the categories within that, I would say as a result of that, you don't have to market as much about benefits. Because it is much more about the emotional connection that you're making with consumers. So I would say that it's definitely much more emotionally driven, even more aspirational, because there's obviously an aspirational element across all beauty, but I would say even more aspirational from a luxury perspective. There are very strict luxury cues that you have to follow. Depending on the brand, there may be a fashion house that you have to, partner with.
That seems like such a tough relationship to navigate. Like everyone that I talk to that does that is like they have to get every asset approved. It's just like there's a lot. You get benefits from it, right? There's obviously
you're borrowing equity.
Sure.
Yeah,
but,
correct.
Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no problem. No, but you're right. It is a pain. So I will confirm what you're saying. So it definitely is challenging, and it introduces a dynamic that is unique that you will not have in any other aspect. So for sure, that's how I would categorize marketing and luxury. You compare that then to mass. And because it's an unassisted sale, so more often
what's funny
than
is
not,
I've never heard that distinction. Not one time in my whole life. And
wow.
I've been doing this for a while. And it's the first time I've heard that. And it just makes so much sense, right? Like you have somebody there to talk about the benefits. So you don't need to plaster the packaging with benefits, right? Like the packaging is meant to appeal to an emotion and appeal to how you want to be represented as an individual and blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
It's just, I've never heard that distinction and never even thought about it. And it makes so much sense.
It makes such a difference, though. It makes such a difference because you compare that then to the experience in mass where you usually don't have anyone there to help you find what you're looking for. So your packaging and your communication at the shelf have to work really, 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 really hard. Or offline, the communication has to work really, really hard for you. So I think, the focus from a marketing standpoint is then being a lot more crisp and clear about what your benefit, delivery is. It's definitely, just a different dynamic than, of course, still aspirational, as we mentioned, but just different in that regard. So then I think the second part of your question was then, what are some of the digital strategies and thoughts as you think about both? Well, I think, for luxury, if I think about fragrance, let's just take an example. It's definitely much more emotional. And when it comes down to it, it is about the smell, but it's really more about the lifestyle that you are trying to aspire to be. And so that is much more, as you think about how you bring that experience to life digitally. You obviously cannot smell the juice in a digital capacity, but how can you emulate that either feeling or smell or sensorial overall effect that online is some of the things that make that category very interesting, because you're really trying to evoke an association with consumers versus obviously being able to smell it directly. So I think that's a really interesting one. When it comes to mass and then how your digital strategies to support that, it is much more around, of course, being able to showcase shades. That's a big piece of what we work with within cosmetics. So tons of shades, being able to display and help guide her or him on what's the right shade for them. Being able to use education, because there isn't anyone there to help you. Like, how can you leverage digital to really inform and educate consumers on what's best for them, to really direct them to the right purchase so that it's not so much of a big trial and error. And so, I think there are many of these differences that factor into the marketing strategy, but specifically as you think about the digital approach, I think it's first considering the environment, the ways in which consumers are interacting with the product, and then trying to leverage digital in a way that closes the gap for those things that are, more difficult for consumers to tangibly grasp, and to ultimately give them the nuggets of what they need to purchase. So it's an interesting dynamic. It is a bit different across categories, but if I had to say what's the biggest distinguisher for me, I definitely would say that the channel is a big deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you wonder how that changes with kind of digital, right? Because digital luxury, there's still, so that unassisted assisted thing doesn't exist online, right? I guess
it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could fake it, right? You can do it. There are some people that do it. I think that we've actually heard it come up in a couple of podcasts where it was like Iliad during COVID brought their whole field team in-house to have digital touch points with consumers. And it's kind of doing that assisted sale that you're talking about. So you're kind of replicating that experience online. It's interesting.
Yeah, we do that. We do that too. So as you think about, I talked about the shift we made to tutorials, to leveraging experts, because essentially that's all that makes the difference between an assisted and unassisted sale is someone who can credibly give you direction on what's best for you. And that can be and is replicated digitally.